Hello and welcome back to Exchanges, the Alex Martin podcast. Today's guest has been described as, and I quote, the nicest man you will ever meet. It's an absolute honour to be sat alongside the one and only Michael Kingsley.
Thank you, thank you.
Can you guess who said that?
Oh,
Be really impressed. You got 5 seconds.
it's AK.
Nope. Gideon Gold.
Wow.
Yeah. That's surprising.
Wow, that is surprising.
He was a nice guy. We did
He's
it a little
lovely.
bit before.
He's lovely.
We'd like to start from the bottom. Who are you and what do you do?
I am Michael Kingsley, also known as Mike. And
King
I
size.
am king size occasionally. And I am
What's that?
one of the founders of, not for the right reasons, I'm afraid. I am one of the founders of Greymax Capital, who are a short-term lender, bridging lender. And how long have we been going? Seriously, since I'd say 2020.
What do you mean seriously?
It was a sideline before that. And it kind of morphed into a business that we didn't go out with a view of starting a bridging lender. So we were property traders who then had a small loan book on the side. And then it was really COVID kind of repositioned us and we decided to double down on lending and slow down on property.
So you're probably one of the only people that actually benefited from COVID.
Yeah, there was a fair few. Yeah, my COVID was a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, in other terms. I hated being at home and I had to get out. And so within 2 weeks, I was out. The first lockdown, the first bit was all right. The sun was shining, the gym was flowing.
Gin or gym?
Gin.
I thought the first lockdown was an unbelievable time.
The sun
was every day.
It was
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
time ever, but at the time it was horrible.
No, I
No,
didn't.
I
I had a
disagree.
2-week-old baby, so it
Well,
was.
did I have 3 at home or 4? No, I had 4 at home.
Thought, wow.
And we tried to do homeschooling and we quit. I mean, my wife and I don't have a qualification between us. So we quit, I think, the day after. And we just had a lovely time for the first 2 weeks. But then I was A, anxious about, am I going to earn any money? And B, I needed to get out of the house.
Mm.
And so I just went to work and that was it. And we were getting sent all of this from being a very, very small lender. Sorry, we've gone like deep in straight away, but from being a very small lender that just picked up the occasional phone call and deal every now and again, we were getting sent tons of applications from people who were like, we've been let down. This bank is shut. This valuer won't come and value a property. We're due to complete in 3 days, 5 days. Can you help? And we just thought, yeah, we can help. And we just went on a march.
Yeah.
And was all that pure bridge or was that
Pure
other stuff?
bridge.
Yeah.
Pure bridge. We had a load of stock that we'd bought, funnily enough. It was the only time I'd ever bought any gear in Tottenham. That's another story. You'll like that. The company name
There's a
was-
euphemism
Yeah,
for that.
yeah,
You're in
that's
Tottenham, I mean, I take it not that sort, but there you go.
Wait, gear as in weed or cocaine?
No.
Property.
Oh.
Kit, I should have said, sorry.
Yeah.
No, kit's a bad phrase
Yeah,
with Tottenham as well.
yeah.
Property, let's stick with property. So we bought a few units in Tottenham. Our investor on that deal was a Tottenham fan. And so we bought them in a SPV company that we named 712004 Limited, as in 71-2004 Limited,
Mm.
which he wasn't delighted about. But, and we were stuck with everyone else. We didn't know what was happening. So we dumped every property that we had under offer or exchanged. We just traded our way out of very, very quickly and just focused on lending. And that kind of really solidified things. And from there, we went on and professionalized the business. And, so really seriously, Greymax Capital started COVID-y time.
Mm.
The stuff you dumped. Any regrets? Was that panic or
Not at all.
no? Good.
Not at all.
All right.
I don't enjoy property anymore. And we still do the very occasional deal. They never work out the way I think they're going to work out. It's hard. It's really, really tough. The glory days of property are over. And I think when I watched VFund on here, I found that really interesting because it's nice to know that the really good people are finding it difficult as well. And
How did the mindset change going from a trader to a bank, so to speak?
I'm not sure it did so much. We still looked at things because we value our USP is we value ourselves.
Yeah.
So we looked at them as a buyer. What would we pay for it? Where do we see the value? It's very, binary. We're not professionals, Ben and I, and we have completely different routes of getting to a value. I'll sit there, I'll do some research online. I'll pick up the phone to a few people. He just goes, that.
Who's Ben?
Ben is my partner, my co-founder. So there's now 6 people in the business. There's 3 of us are directors, myself and Ben, who founded it. And then there's a guy called Alan Margolis who joined us. It was a big change to the business. Very experienced guy, really, really top guy. And then we've got Katie, who's solicitor by trade, who's been with us a long time. Pre-20, I think. And Fran and Nikhil joined a year and a half ago, respectively.
Why do you need so many staff to lend money?
So it's a good question. We didn't, but there's a lot that goes with it. You can lend money and not be that compliant. And there's we have a duty of care to our funders. We take money from people who invest with us into specific loans. There's reporting sides of that. Now the biggest problem that we have is AML, anti-money laundering. It takes up so much of our time. You cannot scrimp on it. Has to be done properly. It is far more technical than I am. And so we really need to look at that, and also experience. When Alan came in, he was a big hitter. Could we afford him? No. But our view was, if he stops us making one mistake, it's worth it. And he stopped us making tons of mistakes, So that's been a great asset to have. Then you need someone to do a bit more admin work because you're busy. We don't have any salesmen or BDMs. That's us, so our time is valuable from that perspective. And
Do you go to networking events and say, do you need me to lend you money?
No, it's mostly word of mouth recommendations. We never used to deal with brokers at all. It was all individuals who knew us through a network of other agents. Other borrowers weirdly used to recommend. Normally borrowers hate you, but our borrowers seem to like us. And yeah, it worked kind of organically. Now we deal with brokers because Nikhil and Alan particularly have had backgrounds in finance, have those connections, and those have kind of blossomed a bit. So I'd say we're 50% broker, 50% direct.
Do you lend, or is it purely your clients giving you money to lend?
We have money in the loan book. We'd love to have more money in the loan book, but we're not in that position yet. But we do it it's a very much collaborative approach. So we have 80 active investors, of which 4 or 5 are our core. They're kind of half our business, and they're more than just investors. A couple of them who you might know have been direct lenders themselves. They're far more experienced than we are. And it's actually very nice because we can bounce things off them. We get their underwrite on things. And we look at it very collaboratively. But underneath everything we do is a duty of care on the money. It's not our money, right? And we don't get paid until the money comes back. So that's our kind of skin in the game.
Is that a point
We'd be
you wanna
working
get
for
to
free.
where you're lending your own money?
Yeah, absolutely. So we try and put out bits. And what we do quite often is we might take riskier pieces. So if someone comes to me and says, I need to borrow 70% on this and we only want to lend 65, we might do 65% of the money with investors, and then Ben and I will put our top slice in for the 5%. We'll take the riskier position. And that kind of works quite well because it enables you to do things that you might not be able to do otherwise.
If all shit hits the fan and you're not getting your money back, do you have hard people that you could send round?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are these the questions you expected? Yes, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Are they paid employees?
They get 20% of the property.
Really?
No. It's Gideon Gold, actually.
You ain't getting your money back then.
No, we have a very simple process. So Alan, Alan's background is UTB Bank. He set up bridging for United Trust Bank. So it's a huge role with teams and teams of people. He says, I had a department, I can't remember exactly. I think it's 6 people on collections. Okay, they were a slightly bigger business, but he says, Ben, my business partner, is the most effective collections department he's ever met in his life. He literally sits there making payments and receiving money all day long. He's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's like that, what does he call it? Like a foam baseball bat. He'll like beat you up nicely. And everyone always puts down the phone and says thank you to him at the end of it, and we get our money. And, when people are coming to us, they're coming to us because they're strapped for cash. We only lend to the rich and the poor. So a lot of them are super wealthy, but they've got no cash. It's all asset. It's spread about the place. If we're short of their money, you can guarantee there's loads of other people in the queue as well. You have to be at the front of that queue, and he who shouts loudest gets seen. And that's kind of our view. We're just on them, and it works well. And ultimately, we are in a good position. We are secured. You know, I'd like to think we understand property. And it's kind of that view is, whilst it's not nice to say from a borrower's perspective, but they are big boys. They are commercial loans only. We don't take people's own homes as security. So we're never making anyone homeless. And, you know, can't pay, we'll take it away. It's basically the bottom line.
How often does that happen?
Very
Percentage-wise?
rare. So we have enforced out of, how many have we done? About 350 loans. I think we've sold 5 things.
Okay.
Can't pay, you'll take it away.
Yeah.
Good program.
Yeah.
We just live in real life of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's, but I tell you, it's stressful. It's not nice.
No.
I hate that. You know, all we want is every loan to go as it's supposed to go. You earn more money when they go wrong, but we don't celebrate that. It's not a nice process.
The ones that it's happened to, the 5 or so, has it because they've been absolutely foolish? Have you had those relationships? How painful? There must be some stories there because you've
Yeah.
made a calculated decision to lend. What's gone wrong?
Usually what's gone wrong is it's all a balancing act. So we ask the question, how are you going to repay us? Everyone thinks they can refinance, but as we all know, refinancing is not so easy. You have to be clean. Your accounts have got to be in order. If you're trying to use collateral on something that's rent bearing, that rent has got to be paid for a period of time. You can't just go and sign your commercial lease and then go and refinance the next day. They want to see 6 months of rent coming in. You sign a commercial lease, how many are you doing with rent-free periods or, you know, capital contributions, etc.
Everything.
So these things just stretch and stretch and stretch. And also, we've been in a tough market. You know, I look at our age group, being very inclusive there.
Very vague.
R and your
Yeah.
should be more, but we've not had it easy. Like we really have not had it easy. I mean, I remember when COVID came, I just sat there. I think I actually was in tears and said, I just want a year. Just give me a year. Because, you know, we just got Boris in and Corbyn was gone. And we thought, great, we can finally make some money, having gone through Brexit and stamp duty and credit crunch and, you know, all these things, and bang, you know, and so, and if you look at it from the perspective of people transacting in property, my borrowers, how hard have they had it? Developers and investors, you know, and then you had Liz Truss, which just changed the game. And if we would have been a lender who relied on red book valuations and allowed interest to roll up and you know, were desperate to get our money out the door and didn't underwrite as solidly as we did, we'd have been gone. Because people got to a point where they couldn't refinance. Their property that was worth $1 million was worth, I don't know, what, a third off overnight, sometimes half, because of that interest change. You know, they were playing an arbitrage game, and then you couldn't refinance. You didn't have the equity to refinance, and you were essentially completely snookered. You'd done nothing wrong. You'd just been a victim of circumstance, or the prudent people who've been round would go, you didn't gear up properly. You didn't prepare. You weren't cash rich enough. You were too ballsy, whatever it is. But if you haven't seen that market before and you went on this path and everything was going great, people think it's never going to stop. And so I think that was a big problem.
So
and
the 5 you were all like trust related interest rates?
No, actually.
I mean, we know one gentleman, So
that
got
was just
very
greed.
close,
That was greed.
Yeah.
And a little bit of stupidity, I think,
Yeah.
without speaking out of turn.
Look, if the market was amazing,
I knew you were going to ask me.
Yeah.
if the market was amazing, he would have done amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And he was so close to pulling it off.
I agree.
He was so close to pulling it off. And we spoke a million times and we all were willing him to get there, and it just, things didn't work. And eventually, once the towel got thrown in, it was house of cards.
Yeah.
We did all right. We got out because we were secured at the right level and we understood the asset. There are going to be issues there, you know, and to give you an idea, I've got a personal guarantee on that person for a reasonable sum of money because I wanted to get out of a position. So I allowed some money to be taken off the debt. And that was my end. Ben and I made that commercial decision thinking, we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. And I could go after him now for his house, but it's not our style.
Mm.
So for me, I've done well enough out of it. Good luck to him, you know. And
Could you
debt is
make
debt.
him bleed slowly?
Potentially.
But morally, that's not your.
No, it's
That's
just
not your
you know
shtick.
what? It's you got to sleep at night as well.
Because some would.
He's
Yeah.
not a bad
I'd
person.
imagine more,
right?
more would than wouldn't.
No, I think it's very different when you're faceless. If you're a big operation and you don't actually, you're just seeing numbers, management accounts. You know, we're at the nitty gritty. We're meeting people, and it's not nice when you see someone's dream collapse in front of you.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing, and it is also, you know, I don't even know, but I'm sure it's impacted the tenants. I'm sure that has some sort of social impact. That whole thing falling. So it's, and also you never know when you're going to cross people's paths again, and all the rest of it. As you always say, karma, and I'm a massive believer in karma.
It sounds it.
Even
as
if I'm the wrong side of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'd rather be the loser in that scenario.
So what do you, when you and Alex speak on the phone, what is that usually about? If
I
you
mean,
can say.
no, I don't usually get much
PG
voice.
version.
I get voice notes.
Yeah,
is
these
what I
days,
get.
yeah.
I get voice notes.
Well, you would. I'm taking probably some of your questions, but the beauty of you is you don't employ valuers. You just go and look at buildings and say, yeah, I feel safe and secure on that, which is fantastic and facilitates deals happening where others couldn't do it. But yeah, you're usually ringing me saying, what's this worth? Have I overcooked it? And that's why we talk.
Yeah.
And every now and again, I'll get some business from it.
I think we've only ever done one direct transaction.
Yeah.
Where you're instructed to sell something,
Yeah.
but we've enabled each other to do loads of
Absolutely.
fees and transactions, which has been nice. But it's also, and I it's weird because when we first met was in Streatham.
Was that actually the first
The
time?
first
we
time I met you.
I'd heard your name before.
I'd never spoken to you and I'd never met you.
Yeah.
I met you at Streatham and I was pre-warned the agent's going to be there. And
Yeah.
so when someone says that to you, and this was early days for
Yeah.
me. So I was, right, I have to play the corporate role. Have to be, I'll probably put a shirt on. That was
Yeah.
probably the other time you see me in a shirt. And I would have turned up and been, you know, asking the right questions and, you know, just presenting yourself in a banky style, shall we call it. And I thought, who's this bloke? Because you were casually dressed and you were so chilled. And I couldn't believe it. And the guy was like, I'm under pressure. I have to like present a good game to this guy.
Yeah.
Da-da. You were so chilled. And it was a breath of fresh air because not only did you know the building,
Yeah.
and that's how I was. You know, my background was agency and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I was also very chilled. If you like it, buy it. If you don't, I'm not selling it to you. I'm not, you know, I'll help you. I'll assist. And so, yeah. And then I think, I can't remember when we picked up the phone to each other next.
How long ago was that?
4
That
years
must
to
have
been
been
a straight.
Yeah,
That must
Streatham
have been
Hills,
a
yeah.
COVID time.
Yeah.
As a lender, I know you're a good person, you've got good morals. Is it better for the business of lending if everyone is skint or if everyone is rich?
I think a bit of both. If everyone's skint, I've got no money to lend.
No, apart from you.
I want everyone else to be skint without a doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah, then I'm king.
yeah. But
Um,
often I see that businesses that have liquid still borrow money. Why do they do that?
I think people who have been around the block know that cash is king. And when they go into a transaction, the transaction can pay the cost of the finance. That's the way a lot of them look at it. Okay, I'm paying you 12, 15% a year, whatever they're paying, but the deal can cover it. And actually, they're backing themselves. So, you know, going back a step, my previous life as a property trader, we never borrowed money. We worked with investors. We would buy a property, let's say for 500 grand, and we would go off and sell it for 700 grand. And I'm talking about within a week or two, just exchange to exchange. So actually what we would do is put down 50 grand and sell it for 700 and just use their money to complete and walk away with 200 grand off 50 in a few weeks. Amazing, right? We always used investors. And if we'd have gone to a bridging lender, we would have been far more profitable. But our view was, don't want to give a PG, even though we had nothing really behind it anyway. But I wanted to sleep at night, didn't want to deal with banks, didn't want to deal with paperwork, didn't want to deal with valuers. And Ben and I always say, if we'd have known a lender like we are now, we'd have loved it as traders, because it would have been that pick up the phone. And actually, we did have that scenario very, very briefly. I don't know do you remember Lawrence Brown, commercial acceptance?
No, I don't know him.
Amazing guy. You know, he was the only person I ever borrowed off, and you could have it was a conversation. You know, they were a big lender, but you could pick up the phone and have a conversation and just, you know, your lawyers are driving me mad. Can you send the money? Yeah, no problem. You know, and that's kind of what we're a bit more like. It's a bit more relationship led. But yeah, people always like to keep cash in their own bank accounts, and the deal should pay for the cost of the finance. And if it can't afford it, then it's not a good enough deal.
Al mentioned before that you ask other lenders, they get valuers involved in everything, but you go solo. You didn't quite expand on how you learnt to walk around a building and
Well, so my background's agency, as is Ben's, my partner.
that
So I keep
commercial?
pointing
Was
at
that-
you every time I say Ben. It's
He
really weird.
wishes he was your partner. Yeah.
Is that a commercial agency?
So Ben was commercial. Ben did a bit of commercial.
Yeah.
I'm being too kind. He dabbled in commercial, but big commercial, and was really a St John's Wood residential lettings agent. But he was in trading
Okay.
way before me. And it's weird. Arsenal comes into the story here. So I've known Ben since we were kids from Arsenal. We shared close mutual friends. The older brother was Ben's best mate. The younger brother was my best mate. And we kind of all sat together for years. And I hated him. Absolutely hated him. I'd get to a game early and Ben would be there. And to me, he was always the privileged one. He had nice holidays, nice cars. And I'd go, "You're right." And he'd go, "Yep." And I go, "Do you have a nice summer?" And he'd go, "Yep." And I go, "Where'd you go?" And he'd go, "America." And then like look the other way. And I'd be like, "I want to go to America. Can we talk?"
Yeah.
It just had no interest. And then you realise actually he was going through a terrible time at home, you know. So and you see the other side of it now. But I really didn't like him. I thought he was arrogant. I thought he was, you know, just not my cup of tea. And then we re-met when I ran a residential estate agency and he was out trading for himself. We met because I had a property he wanted to buy. He bought it, something that had been on the market for months that I was selling on behalf of Granger. Do you remember Granger? And he took it and sold it for more money. And I thought, "You're amazing. You're a proper operator." Yeah. And then he came to me and said, "I've seen this, but I'd love to do it with you. Do you want to do a deal together?" And I was like, "Amazing. I'd love to do a deal with you." And then it literally snowballed. And I think 4 years later, I sold my estate agency and we went into business together.
So what do you do before that? You talked about being a mechanic or something before. So
Yes.
you were clearly very academic at school.
Clearly very academic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Went
said you
to
got
the-
no grades.
I went to the most privileged. I had the most privileged schooling background. My dad was a ladies' hairdresser who grafted so hard and backed the wrong horse. Basically, they should have backed my sister. But I went to City of London. I had a private primary education, had a
Right,
City of London education for 3 years until they got rid of me.
What'd you do?
Numerous. We'd be here for days. In the words of my best man at my stag, I was the beast that couldn't be tamed.
Ooh.
Firearms were involved,
Wow.
BB guns, but still firearms.
Yeah.
It was City of London, not City of Tottenham.
Oh my God.
It was, I was a horrible child as well.
Lobus.
A lobus. A bit more than a
what
lobus.
lobus means.
I don't.
Lobus
don't
is
know
a
what
bit,
lobus
I feel like lobus is a bit lovable, Rogue. I wasn't
Lobus,
so
yeah,
lovable.
fair.
Yeah.
Lobus is someone a bit mischievous.
Okay. So where did the karma come in? Because you come across as
So
having
cars are my
absolutely
absolute
lovely.
passion.
Huh?
Cars are my absolute passion. And so after City of London, I went to Watford Grammar, again, a very good school, but nowhere academically. And ended up going to a school called Bushy Meads, basically because it was mixed and I wanted to meet girls. And I wanted to be a Formula One mechanic. That was the dream. I needed maths or physics. So I literally tried a month of maths and a month of physics, and neither of them were for me. And I just left. And I remember my parents went to the parents' evening for the first term and they were like, Mike left school a month ago. They just had no idea. And I went and got myself a job in a kitchen at HSBC training to clean their pots and whatever. And, I had a work ethic and I wanted to be treated as an adult, I think was my thing. But I loved cars. And so my dad said, "No, you've got to do a career." And I thought the only thing I want to do is cars. So I went to local garage and got a job, an MOT garage. And I was working there for a lovely Italian family for 6 months. And then I thought I need to get something official. And so I went to Volkswagen and trained as an apprentice with Volkswagen for 2.5 years, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
Loved the banter, loved the cars, but it was never a job I was going to do forever. It was just hard work, back-breaking work. you know, I was hanging around with all my mates who were either at that point university or estate agents, and I was filthy hands every day. I mean, like you really were covered in brake dust and grease, and it was horrible. And yeah, just I knew I needed to make a change, and the only job I didn't want to do was become an estate agent. I tried to get into commercial, but it was just at that point where you needed a degree or some experience. It just changed that commercial world, and I couldn't get in anywhere. And so I said, right, I'll go and get some resi experience, and I'll come back in 6 months and get a job in commercial. And I just fell in love with resi on day one. Just absolutely. I loved the fact that you weren't sitting in your office all day. You were out and about, and I love people, and I was with people all day. I remember being picked up in a Porsche on my first day and just thinking, this is great. You know, I'm in a Porsche.
Yeah. What's your dream car?
Ferrari F40.
Ferrari F40.
Old school. Yeah.
A quick answer.
1990s.
Colour?
Red.
Red. Do you have any really close friends in the industry? Some best friends, some buddies?
Well, actually, my ex-business partner is a lender. And am I allowed to shout him out?
Yeah, of course.
Daniel Benton at GRE. We love you. So we were doing property together. He's literally a brother. And he wanted to go off and do his own property thing on a bigger scale. So he went off and did that. And then we both ended up as lenders, weirdly. I've got an old friend of mine, Duncan Krieger at Tab, who's doing really well. They were West One originally. There is something really lovely about finance. And I never, you know, no one ever wants to be in finance. No one wakes up and says, I dream to be in finance. But I do really enjoy it, the collaborative approach. Whereas in property, everyone's very guarded. No one shares contacts or stories because they're yours. In lending, everyone shares, everyone talks. And so I've made a lot more friends on this journey in the last 4 or 5 years than I made in property in 10.
It's far more productive to do that. And everyone's got each other's back. And I can say I relate to that because my business has grown in the last 3 to 4 years because I've got a tight network of people who aren't guarded, who are sharing the information. With that, it creates.
But
that's because you've got that, you've given them that reason to trust you.
Okay.
And I think you have to earn that, no?
Yeah, I agree.
It takes a while. And I found that difficult. And I always used to say in property, we used to put ourselves out there to be fucked because that was just the way we were. I didn't sign fee agreements with people. And, you know, I took everyone at face value and sometimes it didn't pay off. And it was horrible, actually. You know, I got knocked for a 75 grand fee by someone, just disgusting. But you just take your knocks like a man and move on. I don't want to be that person that's always sticking a note in front of someone. But from my perspective, if someone sticks a note in front of me, I'm always happy to sign. I never make them feel bad about it because I have no intention of ever screwing anyone. Yeah. So I'm very happy to. But you know, collaboration's what it's all about. And in lending, knowledge is definitely king.
Yeah.
But why is it so different in finance? Because surely it's the same way as if you talk to someone about your client and they might then go and take, you know what I mean?
It's weird. Everything's very visible. So people go on LinkedIn and they post. If someone posts about acquiring a building, they won't necessarily tag the buyer. So the agent will go, thank you very much. It was lovely to work with this other agent and these lawyers. They won't put the buyer in there. Or a buyer will go on and go, we've just acquired this, but he won't put on the agent because he doesn't want everyone having access to those deals.
Awkward.
As a lender, it's very different. You can kind of tag everyone in. And a lot of business gets done on LinkedIn. A lot of brokers share things. If a deal comes into me and it's not for me, but I know someone with permission, I'll always go back and go, it's not for us, but I think it's going to be for these guys. Do you want me to make an intro? And they're always like, oh yeah. And then when you make the intro, the guy goes, do you want me to put something on it for you? And I'm like, no, it's just cross collaborative.
I'm exactly the same.
You know, it all comes back.
And how competitive is it? Do you have?
I'm swimming in quite a small pool.
Yeah.
So if someone wants cheap rates, big LTV, he's gone.
They're laughing at me because I always ask questions. And
let's move on from it. Move on from it. Sorry.
What was the question?
No, I'm done.
You can answer
something along the lines of how competitive. No,
no, that's exactly it.
You know what? The reason I laughed quickly just before we move on is because he saw me look at you and then you started looking at me.
I did because I knew it was coming.
All right, we're back.
Who's the most annoying broker / lender?
it's got to be Danny Sovic.
Danny Solve.
No, I'm joking. He's great. Actually, I always say, obviously, you've had him on here.
Yeah.
So Danny's business partner and I go back a long way. Jamie Kent, his older brother's my best mate. So I grew up really in their house. Didn't know Danny at all. We were introduced by a mutual client who we discussed offline. And I did my first deal with him. And I remember I felt like I needed to apply arnica afterwards. I was so bruised. And I remember putting down the phone and thinking, if I ever need a broker, that's who I'm calling. He is brilliant.
How many brokers do you deal with?
We're quite small. Look,
Yeah.
we're doing maybe 100 loans a year.
Okay.
If you say 50 of those are through brokers, that's probably, I don't know, 20.
So is Danny
deals.
a big name within your world? I mean, so he's massive for me. He's delivered for me on so many occasions.
So I work with him infrequently because we're just not doing high volume, but they're big, good loans. And again, Danny knows when to use me. If he's got someone who's coming to him for something vanilla, he can go and find it cheaper. He does a good service for his clients. But if he's coming to me with a charity who want to buy a faith building, he knows the answer is going to be no from all the banks. Doesn't need to waste their time and their fees. He comes straight to me. He knows our relationship. He doesn't, I'm quite careful. I don't pick up the phone to you if you're involved. I'll try and get to my own opinion, and then I might just want a sanity check on it.
Yeah.
Whereas at the beginning, I feel like I was a bit lazy. I just used to come to you and kind of outsource my responsibility on that. But, I remember you left me one of your voice notes the other day saying, you don't even need to phone me anymore. You know it.
Yeah.
And I've kind of become a bit Alex Dawson. People.
Slightly bigger version.
Yes.
It's so nice how you can make proper friends through business.
Yeah. Well, and also you've always given me the right advice. So, you've never, even when you've had an interest in wanting to maneuver me to a certain position, you've always said, well, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you want to go there, that's up to you. And I respect that. It's nice. And actually, my world's mostly residential. You pick up the phone to a bog standard residential agent in the middle of wherever when we're trying to get some comps on a building, it is hopeless. It is absolutely hopeless. And I'd say 1 in 15, you put down the phone and go, bloody hell, he was good. And actually, it wasn't that he's that good. It's that everyone else was useless. And when I was an agent, I prided myself on knowing my patch. Is it an even number or an odd number? Does it have the train behind it? Oh, those have got small gardens, or, it's that kind of knowledge that you need. I can't have that countrywide. So we can do a lot online. And ultimately, the reason we value ourselves is because when you instruct a valuer, yes, they've got a qualification, but they're going out there and they're looking at it, and then they bring up an agent, and that is the crux of their valuation. So I don't trust their view. Half of these valuers don't even own property. I think I'm a far better valuer of property. Again, I mean, another one of my mates you had on, Nick Calms, who I would, slightly argue with his opinion that he's the best valuer in the UK. I'd like to think
He said he's hands down the best.
Well,
no comment.
No.
Listen, he's class. I've known, again, Nick and I grew up together. But, we're at the coalface and we've put our money where our mouth is. Over the years, we've bought things. We understand what a buyer is prepared to pay. We've got that vision. Maybe I've lost touch with it a little bit over the last few years, but, there's no substitute for that.
What's the biggest loan you've ever given?
Biggest loan I've ever done, 6.8.
Whoa. You say what it was
Which is small in my world.
Did they just call you up and say, I need 7 mil?
They called me up and said they needed 5.8, and it turned.
Oh, do they always start low?
Turned into a 6.8, and
do they act like they're doing you a favour?
I'm trying to think how. No, it came to me through a broker, and I kept flicking him away. But the broker knew we were the only people who could deliver on this in the timescale that they needed, and it all worked out. And that was it. I've actually, when we first started, we were kind of a mil. Then I remember doing a 2, thinking that was huge. Then I did a 3.6, and then we did a 7 million facility that never completed round the corner from here. Actually, it was like a kind of a commune. It was one of these industrial centres owned by some Frum guys actually they were based in Belgium, but it was operated from Stamford Hill, and it was industrial buildings that had been. This was in the middle of COVID, been converted into HMO illegally.
Wow,
it was amazing. So when you think, how do people survive in London on a wage of, a normal wage, 20, 30 grand a year, this was where they lived.
Wow.
It was amazing. They had these huge common rooms, double vaulted, like 10,000 square foot communal spaces, and then room,
Wow.
just tiny, simple. And they planted it. They had chickens. It was like a little kibbutz in
Middle of
North
Tottenham.
London. Yeah, it was bizarre. And the council came in to enforce on it because it didn't have planning. And
That's so harsh.
there was
though.
1,000 people living there who basically said, "You're going to make us homeless. It's the only place we can afford to live. We love it. Look at it. Are we causing any problems?" And the council dropped their case.
Wow.
And they got established use in the end. So these guys wanted our money, and eventually we had 7 million with lawyers, and they were using us as insurance. They had their own
What
money.
sort of money do you make back on a lend like that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, so we work on a fee split. So we're JV with our investors. So if a deal pays over the course of a year, let's say 15%, we take a margin of that 15. When we used to lend at 12 in the old interest rate environment, we would get 4. Today we're lending at 15. We try and maintain that 4. Sometimes I get a bit more, sometimes I get a bit less.
So you don't get like a direct big.
No. And it depends how long the loan's out for, because people can borrow vast amounts of money from you, but if they pay you back after 3 months and that's your minimum term, it is what it is. So because we're a small business, we don't have that flexibility for people to just come in and out of loans in a month or two. We have to have a minimum term of 4, 5, 6 months normally.
And what's the smallest loan you've ever given?
Oh, I've done some small ones. I lent a mate £2,000 last week. Does that count?
Through the business?
No.
Is he on
that
the
was
three
free.
3 month
That was free,
minimum?
and I'll probably never get it back.
Yeah.
That's the downside of it.
Can I have £2,000?
So our minimum loan, no. Our minimum loan officially is 200 grand, but we'll do anything. So if someone rings us up and it's good security and they want to borrow 100 grand, 70 grand, and we're sitting there, and quite often we'll do those ones ourselves. But we'll just do, if it's good business, we're not, I don't want to be arrogant enough to say, "Oh no, I'm too busy. I only get out of bed for," it's not us. I look at every deal as a deal. I don't actually look, and I was the same as an agent. I didn't look at the fee. I don't know how you look at things. I get the feeling you're kind of like that.
I'm exactly the same. I love doing
So
the
I
deals.
never ever looked at what I earn. I wanted to be the top salesman in the office. I liked being successful, but ultimately I remember being on phone calls as a principal, as an owner of an agency, and thinking, I'm just going to throw my fee in its entirety because I want you to buy it. I want you to sell it. You both got a genuine gripe and I don't care. And that's wrong. Like, you should always earn as an agent. You should really fight for your fee, but it just wasn't me. And I've always had the view that it was my dad's view. Money is a byproduct of a job well done. Like, it's not,
Nice.
and I think that's true. He might have said success and maybe I've changed it to money, but whatever it is, it's true. And I think if you give me a broom and ask me to sweep the floor, I'll sweep the floor to my best of my abilities, and that's always kind of been my view. Do a good job. And I remember whinging and moaning when I had an agency. We had 20 members of staff and it just wasn't great. I wasn't a great business owner. I wasn't a good manager. But I could lead by example. I just couldn't lead by management. And, when we look back at that business, it was always at risk and everyone else earned a fortune apart from us. And, it just wasn't great. And I much preferred kind of rowing my own boat. And I feel in this business, I've got, there's 6 of us and I don't think of one of them as a member of staff.
Yeah.
They're all part of the team.
Yeah.
And it's lovely. And that's not because we've created a culture. That's because the culture has created itself.
I can imagine you're such a nice boss.
I am a nice boss.
Yeah.
I am a nice
What's the
boss.
name behind? What's
It's
the
a
story
weird
behind
one.
the
So
name?
there is a story.
It's a bit like have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
They had grey matter.
Yes.
Remember
It's
that?
very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least that's what you want to portray. Yeah.
They made money.
Yeah.
No. So I used to have Greyhorse Investments, which is a name that came out of nowhere because it was a development we were doing at the time. And my business partner, Daniel Benton, who I mentioned earlier, we bought a building in Kensal Rise. And he said, let's call the company Greyhorse. And I said, why Greyhorse? And he said, it sounds strong. Horse, Lloyd's, Barclays, whatever. And then what I realised was the pub next door, the development was called, it's now, it's opposite Paradise. It's now Parlour. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. Great breakfast. And it's a Grade 2 listed building. And in the stone, it says the grey horse, and it's subliminally, it must have gone in. So we had Grey Horse Investments. Then when we joined up with, because it was the two of us then, we joined up with Ben, my now partner, to make the three of us. He had a company called Panamax, and his company was called Panamax because he went and did a trip on the Panama Canal, and there's a boat called the Panamax which can get through. It's a great story. It can get through the Panama Canal, which is very shallow because it's a nimble boat and it's low bottom. And so he thought, what a great name for a company, because I'm nimble and I can navigate my way through. So, and we just joined the two.
That's
and then
pretty
actually
epic.
we also had we had Greymax, and then we had Pana Grey. But to me, that was always
Pana
Cotta.
Grey.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
It just didn't work.
Greymax is
Greymax
nice.
is good.
Strong.
Yeah.
Bit corporate, which I like.
Yeah, although in lending terms, grey is not a good word. Grey is uncertainty, whereas we actually are anything but uncertain. So I don't think we'll change it. But you know, people come to us not because we're Greymax; they come to Ben, Mike, Alan, Nick Hill. You know, we're the face of the business.
Bit off topic. When you go to talk to Al now, do you find him a little bit hard to reach now that he's a bit of a
absolutely.
celebrity?
Yeah. What I do most of the time is I actually comment on Forbes, and then I get a response that way.
All right,
You seen the latest? EG.
Ooh,
EG.
ooh,
Are you going to MIP him?
yes. You in?
Me?
Oh,
Yeah, I'll bring him out.
I
We
think
were
he's gonna
discussing
get
it today.
Yeah.
he's gonna get lifted on tables, Al. Do you reckon you'll be really
My
recognised?
seat's just sunk about that.
Let's see what games we got out there.
Yeah.
What?
Arsenal.
Yeah.
But you'll be
Last
out
year
the
was
Champions.
Liverpool.
You'll be out the Champions League by
No,
then.
we had an Arsenal game there as well,
Oh,
but
yeah,
we'd
but
already
we
done
won
it in the
that
first
7-1,
leg.
haven't we?
Yeah. Can't remember
Oh,
what it was.
MIP him's going off.
Yeah. It's great. Listen, last year
Did you
was my
lift that
first year.
trophy as well in the end?
That's
or-
mad.
No, you literally used to support Arsenal.
He wrote poems to Sol Cam.
Have we got this photo?
No.
Confirmed.
Has anyone got
It
this
doesn't
photo?
exist.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna pay Vince.
No.
I don't think he needs
He
that
don't.
money.
He doesn't need paying.
We'll
He's
pay
all
him.
right.
This is a good question. Who are your inspirations in the industry?
In the industry.
Anyone that you look at and you think, oh,
So Lawrence Brown, who I mentioned before, was Commercial Acceptances, who sold his business into Close Brothers, who are a massive institutional funder. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Great. If you can ever get him on, he's an amazing guy. He's quirky, he's knowledgeable, and he's fun. You'll see him in MIP. I'll introduce you. You will love him. They drive over there in a raft of supercars, but he is super cool. So Lawrence to me was always gold standard. And then once we've been trading a couple of years, we got a phone call from one of Ben's friends who says, I know Henry Moser, who's the guy who owns Together, who are the biggest lender in the country, or bridge lender, I should say. And he wants to meet you. We thought, that's a bit weird. How does he even know who we are? And he goes, oh, God, I've been telling about you. So, okay, Henry Moser wants to meet us. We'll go and meet him. This guy's got a £6.5 billion loan book. And I was warned, I was told, be careful, big boys, him and Mark Goldberg, big egos. I went up there. We went up to Manchester to meet with them. Honestly, the most amazing meeting. Like the loveliest people. I don't know if you ever met Mark. Or,
No, I haven't.
again, Mark was at MIPIM. He's just announced he's stepping down from Together next year. But the most amazing guys. I mean, Henry walked in to the office in his own big office building in, I hope he doesn't watch this, and if he does, no offense, really cheap suit, white shirt that gone yellow, polyester shirt with Together Finance written on it, with a cigar indoors and a dog called Buster. And I was just like, I love you. And he put a £1 note in both of our hands and said, that's from me, gift to remember me by, which I've got framed in the office.
that is so cool.
So cool.
You kept the £1 note?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably owe him a fortune by now.
Yeah.
How much
No, a quid. Literally a quid. But Mark came in and they gave us their time. I mean, these are guys who are like gurus, and they sat there with us for a couple of hours. Henry picked up the phone. A couple of weeks later, I get a random number on my mobile, and it was him. And he was inviting me up to see Arsenal Man City. I didn't go, but amazing. Like it was lovely. And that's what is amazing about this industry.
Yeah.
And he was just like, two young guys coming up. If there's ever anything you need, call me.
Wow.
And on occasion we have. You know, we might be redeeming one of their loans or have a suspicion about something and they've had a charge on it. We'll pick up the phone and ask them the question, and they give us the time of day, which is amazing. So I would say they are industry people. Otherwise, you know, for me, the people that have really enabled me are my funders. You know, I have my original funder is family, Ben's father-in-law, who's been amazingly supportive to us. One of our close friends who's younger than us and just done incredibly well of his own accord. I was introduced to a guy through one of my friends growing up, to his cousin who's in the music industry, who's like a mentor of mine, incredibly sharp guy, and I've learned tons off him. So, you know, there's loads of people within this journey that I've met who are kind of mentors in certain ways, and
You seem very appreciative.
I am unbelievably lucky, is how I look at life. You know, we have been unbelievable. Like, I didn't come from money, neither did Ben. And you know, people come to see me now. I get a lot of people say, "Oh, can my son come and see you or do a couple of days work experience, whatever?" And I always say to them, don't be embarrassed to ask. You know, you've got a network. You are in a wealthy circle. Ask. People are delighted to help. And I never had that confidence. Ben was never afraid to ask, and he was great at that. And now I'm not. And actually, we're lucky. Look, we grew up in Northwest London. You know, it's that old line of your luck begins before you're born. You could be born in the middle of nowhere. Your chances of success are much lower. You could be born in some poverty-stricken country, or, you know, we had a good head start here, and I've just been lucky that I've always done the right thing, and that's allowed us to earn trust of people who place a lot of trust in us. I mean, you know, we've got 90 million quid of other people's hard-earned money that we're responsible to, and that's a proper responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these lenders are out there, they might have loan books of £1 billion, but it's bank money. It's completely different. Doesn't carry that weight of responsibility.
Very well said. Very well said.
That's my view.
Where do you see Greymax in 5 years?
Please God, doing exactly the same as we're doing now. You know, we are not looking to become huge. We just want to stay sensible, profitable. There are problems with finance, and if you want to have a conversation about another business that we're trying, then very happy to, which is a fintech idea, because I do think finance is broken, mainstream finance. But
Sorry, do you know how much money in the world is cash, percentage-wise?
clue. Wait, let me have a think. Let me have a stab.
We'll go around the table. How much money?
Actual physical cash.
Cash.
I think it's going to be a lot more than I think.
Percentage-wise, go on.
Does this include Colombia buried?
Oh, I don't know.
Who told you this? That cash?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
go on.
I've got a clue.
I reckon 50%.
Yeah,
Just to put it
I've
out
gone
there.
straight down the middle. Yeah, 50.
30%.
15%.
It's going to be high. I think 50. But
4%.
really, wow,
4%. Look it up if you like. 4% of the world's
that's a great
money
stat.
is cash.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's like, where is all the money? You're right.
It's all on the
finance is
never,
ruined.
never. It's all on the never, never.
Wow.
Yeah, it's invisible. But for us, I mean, again, this is actually a Sovic involvement. He brought us into this fintech idea, and we've partnered up. And someone's going to crack it. If it's not the company that we're working with, someone else is going to crack it. And car insurance was broken. Now you can go to Go Compare. There's a marketplace, right? It's easy. You can do all your underwriting once and then just pick your product. And I think that's what needs to happen with lending. No one's ever got there. You know, we have such amazing tools online. If I was trying to operate the way I operate today 20 years ago, no chance, because how do I know the value of something? Now, you know, I use Nimbus, Land Insight, Rightmove comparables, Google Street Map, all of these things. You know, I can trace anyone anywhere in the world pretty much on some of these databases. I can make sure my borrower is my borrower with biometric ID and read the chip in their passport through their phone. You know, we've been given all these tools, but it hasn't applied to finance yet. And so we are on a journey, which is quite close to perfecting a finance underwriting end-to-end system.
Wow.
And we've kind of been the process and brain that they've downloaded into that platform. Danny's provided the product side of it from a broker's perspective, and the guy who's actually, you know, whose baby it is an ex-finance guy who wanted to create transparency and accountability. And you know, as I say, I think we'll get there. If we don't get there, someone else will. And my goal in life would be to be extremely successful in some other place and come back and just do exactly what I'm doing today with a lot more of my own money and run a small kind of family asset-backed office.
Good luck. Lastly, I know you've mentioned a couple names already. 3 people that you'd like to see come onto the pod.
Do they have to be finance?
Nope. Lawrence was one.
Lawrence would be fantastic.
What's his last name again? Sorry,
Brown.
Lawrence Brown.
Who else would I like to see? Can we go sporting, or do they have to be business and property?
Someone that we can tag on LinkedIn.
You can tag, or we can tag?
Bit of
Well,
both.
Yeah, a bit of both.
I think finance. I think I'll tell you who's amazingly forward thinking is Duncan Krieger from Tab. He's done it with West One. He was kind of one of the first people to create a lender that utilized private capital and had that front end, back end system. And he's now gone over to Tab and started a business there that really seems to be going places. And property wise, I mean, look, there are some amazing agents. I sat at MIPIN with a good friend of ours from the estate office, Haim Aziz. Don't know if you've ever come across Haim.
I don't know.
Super sharp. Some of the stories, we just sat there having a pizza. It was one of those nights where we couldn't get into a restaurant. It was pissing down with rain, and we were like, just the 4 of us or 5 of us, whoever was around, went and grabbed a pizza somewhere. Some of the stories of these transactions are unbelievable. So yeah, he would be great value.
How are you pronouncing that?
Haim,
Glenn.
which most people call Chaim,
James.
Aziz.
Lawrence Brown, Duncan Krieger, and Chaim. You've been nominated. Michael, thank you so much. What a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you all for watching. God bless.